Hey everyone, are you all ready to dive into the world of cinema? Today we're going to merge one of the most important elements of a film, the ending. That final moment that can leave you speechless and make you cry your eyes out, leave you with a knot in your head for days on end.
That's right. A well-crafted ending has the power to completely change our experience with the film. It's like the cherry. It elevates the story to another level, makes you question everything you saw before, and leaves you thinking about the film long after the credits roll.
And the 2020s have been a goldmine of incredible endings that keep you on the edge of your seat till the very last second. And to guide us on this journey, we'll use as a basis an essay video, rank the 7 best endings of the decade. Get ready to relive thrilling movies, jaw-dropping twists, and open endings that even the obvious ones leave us scratching our heads.
Let's start our analysis with 2 films that, despite being from completely different genres, have the same ability to move us. After Sun and Everything, Everywhere All at Once. After Sun, from 2022, takes you on a vacation journey between a father and his daughter, but it goes far beyond just a simple travel story. It dives deep into the complexity of family relationships, the power of memories, and leaves you with that bittersweet feeling, of nostalgia.
The film is told through Sophie's memories, who years after that trip tries to better understand who her father, Callum, was. The cinematography is breathtaking. The soundtrack immerses you in that summer, and the performances of the leads are so sensitive that they keep you hooked from start to finish.
And the ending, it's beautifully poetic, but at the same time, kind of sad. The party scene, with Callum dancing and saying goodbye to Sophie, carries a very strong emotional weight. It's like we feel along with Sophie that it was a goodbye.
Yeah, and the subtle way the film suggests Callum's death leaves you with that doubt, with a tightness in your heart. It's incredibly masterful. The director invites us to fill in the gaps, to question the nature of memory and how it changes our view of the past.
It's an ending that makes you think, right? About the fragility of life, the importance of cherishing every moment, and the complexity of family relationships, even those that seem simple at first glance.
And After Sun shows how a vague ending can be powerful. It leaves you with questions that make you think, inviting you to revisit your own memory.
And since we're talking about endings that move us, let's go to the other side of the emotional spectrum with Everything, Everywhere All at Once. So from 2022, a film that takes you on a mind-bending adventure through the multiverse, but at its core, it's a story about love, family, and the search for connection.
Get ready for an explosion of colors, action, and humor. The movie is a total trip with jaw-dropping scenes, but at the same time, it manages to be touching and makes you think about the importance of human relationships.
We follow the journey of Evelyn, a Chinese immigrant who runs a laundromat, and suddenly finds herself in the middle of an interdimensional battle to save the multiverse. You heard that right? Multiverse.
And in the midst of all this craziness, film shows Evelyn's complicated relationship with her daughter, Joy. A relationship marked by expectations, frustrations, and communication difficulties. Evelyn has to deal with her daughter's existential crisis, who questions the meaning of life in an infinite multiverse while trying to save the world from destruction. It's a lot for one person, right? And the ending is incredibly beautiful. Evelyn discovers that love and acceptance are the most powerful weapons she has, and the scene where she reconnects with Joy is spine-tingling.
It's as if the movie is telling you, in the end, what really matters are the relationships we build, love we cultivate, and the ability to forgive and accept the people we love with all their flaws.
Everything Everywhere All at Once and After Sun show how endings can be completely different, equally powerful. One takes you deep within yourself into the melancholy of memory, while the other invites you to celebrate life, love, and the connection between people.
And which of these endings touched you the most? What impacts you the most in a movie? The answer to all the mysteries, or the ambiguity that makes you think and question? Share your thoughts with us in the comments.
And now let's trade the sadness and explosion of feelings for pure adrenaline. Get ready to relive the epic farewell of one of cinema's greatest icons, James Bond in 007, No Time to Die.
This film, from 2021, broke barriers and subverted the expectations of the franchise's fans. We said goodbye to Daniel Craig as James Bond in a way we never would have imagined. And the ending of the film left a mark in cinema history.
That's true. Who would have thought we would see Agent 07, a symbol of invincibility and charm, meet his end? But No Time to Die showed us a more human, vulnerable Bond, willing to sacrifice himself to protect those he loves.
The movie starts with Bonnie retired, enjoying life away from the dangers of the Secret Service. But, as expected, the break doesn't last long. He is forced to return to action to face a new enemy, Lutz Versaphine, who has a deadly weapon capable of causing global chaos.
And what was supposed to be just another mission for the invincible agent turns into a journey of sacrifice and redemption. The good must confront the past, protect those he loves, and prevent a global disaster. And in this process, he discovers that the price to pay could be the highest of all.
And the radical decision by the producers to finally kill off James Bond. No one saw that coming, right?
Well, for decades we saw 07 escape from the most dangerous situations, always ready for the next adventure. But in No Time to Die, we are faced with the fragility of life, even for an icon like James Bond.
And this paradigm shift, this version of the traditional formula completely changed the franchise. Bond's death shocked the audience. The final scene, with Bond saying goodbye to Madeline and Mathilde as the island explodes. Heart-wrenching. It's a farewell, leaving a legacy for fans.
And the final scene, with Bond saying goodbye to Madeline Swan and his daughter Matilda while the island explodes in the background, is heart-wrenching. It's a definitive farewell that leaves a legacy of emotion and reflection for all the fans. It's an ending that makes us think about what really matters in life, about the bonds that connect us, and about the courage to make sacrifices to protect those we love.
From a secret agent who defies death to a scientist grappling with the weight of a devastating discovery, let's now move on to Oppenheimer, the biopic of the father of the atomic bomb directed by the master Christopher Nolan. Get ready for an intense and complex journey through the moral dilemmas of science and war.
This film, released in 2023, takes us right into the eye of the hurricane of World War II and the conflicts of J. Robert Oppenheimer, the brilliant physicist who led the Manhattan Project responsible for the creation of the atomic bomb.
Cillian Murphy is simply brilliant as Oppenheimer. He manages to convey all the complexity of the character, the ethical doubts, the weight of the responsibility for having created a weapon, capable of destroying the world.
And Nolan, his mastery, puts us right in the center of the action. The film alternates between different moments in time, showing the behind-the-scenes of the Manhattan Project, nuclear tests in the New Mexico desert, and the hearings that Oppenheimer faced after the war, when his loyalty was questioned.
Oppenheimer isn't a film that gives you ready-made answers. It makes you question the ethics behind scientific advancements, the limits of human ambition, and the often devastating consequences of our choices.
The ending of the film is incredibly ambiguous. Oppenheimer receives the Enrico Fermi Award, recognition for his contribution to science. But the expression on his face, the weight he carries, shows that the award doesn't erase the guilt, the remorse for having opened Pandora's box.
And the final conversation with Albert Einstein, who warns him about the danger of becoming death, the destroyer of worlds, is chilling.
It's an ending that leaves you with a lump in your throat, making you question the price of progress, weight of our actions, and the impact they can have on the world. An ending that, just like the atomic bomb, is a mark on it.
And speaking of marks that don't fade, let's now move on to an epic science fiction film that takes us to the sands of Arrakis. Dune, Part 2. Get ready for breathtaking landscapes, epic battles, and a nail-biting ending. The continuation of Paul Atreides' saga, released in 2024, is visually spectacular. Denis Villeneuve, the director, gifts us with grand scenes, incredible costumes, and special effects that transport you into the universe of Dune. And the story continues to captivate us, from beginning to end. Paul Atreides, played by the talented Timothée Chalamet, is to deal with the weight of destiny, with the prophecy that marks him as the messianic leader of the Fremen, the people of Arrakis.
He needs the Fremen Niels to fight against the Haqqoni Empire, which wants to control the most valuable resource in the universe, the spice. But this journey puts him on a dangerous path full of traps and temptations.
The chemistry between Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya, who plays Shani, the Fremen warrior who falls in love with Paul, is electrifying.
And the ending is breathtaking. Paul has to make tough decisions that put not only his life at risk, but also the fate of Arrakis and the entire galaxy.
The final scene, with the epic battle against Feyd-Rautha, the cruel nephew of Baron Harkonnen, is truly impressive. The villain delivers a visceral fight full of tension that ends with a bittersweet victory for Paul.
Shani's death in the midst of the battle is a blow to Paul. He loses her just when victory seems close, which leaves him in a state of deep pain and internal conflict.
And the ending leaves you with the feeling that the war is just beginning. Paul Atreides becomes the supreme leader of Arrakis. The fate of the galaxy is still uncertain.
Will his power bring peace or tyranny? Will the people be able to use his power for good, to free Arrakis from oppression and bring peace to the galaxy? Or will he become a tyrant, like those he fought against? Dune. Or will he become a tyrant, like those he fought against?
Lady? Part 2 leaves you with your adrenaline high, your head full of questions, and the certainty that Denis Villeneuve has created an epic and unforgettable universe.
And now, let's swap the scorching sands of Arrakis, the sophisticated and competitive world of classical music.
Get ready to learn about the story of Lydia Tarr, the brilliant and controversial conductor who conquered the world, but saw her career go downhill in tar.
Because Blanche, I am simply impeccable in this 2022 film. She delivers a powerful performance as Lydia Tarr, a woman who built an empire in classical music, finds herself caught up in a scandal that threatens her reputation and career.
Rembrandt's O am baptized mole shouting. The film confronts us with the complexities of power, ambition, the consequences of our choices. We follow Lydia's rise and fall, her ethical doubts, her complicated relationships, and the way she deals with the pressures of the classical music world.
Tar is a film that makes you think, It invites us to reflect on ethics, power, and the consequences of our actions.
And what about the ending of the film? It's surreal. Lydia finds herself in a completely unexpected situation, conducting an orchestra for an audience of gamers at an event that feels more like a rock concert than a classical music performance.
It's an ending
that leaves you with your head full of questions. Is Lydia really starting her life over? Or is it all just a delusion, an escape from reality?
The director, Todd Field, leaves us in a limbo without clear answers. It's up to us to decipher what is real, what is fantasy, and what the fate of Lydia Tarr is.
Tar is a film that stays in your mind for a long time. It makes you question your own values, how you deal with power and ambition, and invites you to reflect on the fragility of fame and the impact of our choices.
And to wrap up the first part of our deep dive, we're going to take you into a psychological thriller that keeps you hooked from start to finish. Get ready to question truth, perception, and justice in Anatomy of a Fall.
This 2023 film is one of those that keeps you glued to your seat, trying to unravel the mysteries of the plot. Sandra Hewitt is brilliant as Sandra Voita, a writer accused of murdering her husband.
The film places us in the middle of the trial, following the investigations, testimonies, and twists of the case as we try to understand what really happened that night.
And the director, Justine Trier, builds the story in an incredible way, making us question every piece of evidence, every testimony, every glance from the characters.
The big question of the film is, Sandra guilty or innocent? And the ending, incredibly ambiguous, doesn't answer that question.
The jury quits Sandra, but the film ends with her reuniting with her son Daniel, who seems to have doubts about his mother's innocence.
And that look of doubt, of distrust, is what makes the ending of Anatomy of a Fall so disturbing. It leaves you with the feeling that the truth will never be fully revealed, and that justice is often flawed and subjective.
It's an ending that leaves you puzzled, you know? You leave the cinema wanting to discuss the film, trying to understand what happened, who is lying, who is telling the truth.
And that's the beauty of cinema, right? It invites us to think, to debate, to question, and to draw our own conclusions.
That's right. Cinema takes us to different worlds, makes us feel intense emotions, and leaves our heads buzzing with ideas. That's all for today, folks. In the next part of our deep dive, we're going to delve even deeper into these endings, uncovering the layers and analyzing the elements that make them so memorable. We explored films like After Sun, Everything Everywhere All at Once, 007, No Time to Die, Oppenheimer, Dune, Part.
In the first part, we explored the roller coaster of emotions that films like After Sun, Everything, Everywhere, 007, No Time to Die, Oppenheimer, Dune, Part 2, TAR, and Anatomy of a Fall give us their unforgettable endings.
And now, let's dissect some of these endings in more detail, trying to understand the layers, the meanings behind them. Get ready to dive deep into the minds of the directors and uncover the secrets that make these endings so memorable.
Let's start with After Sun, which left us with that bittersweet feeling of nostalgia and our minds full of questions. What happened to Callum? What is the meaning of that last look, the silent goodbye in the club?
The beauty of After Sun lies in its subtlety, in the way the director, Charlotte Wells, guides us through Sophie's memories, showing pieces of the past without giving away all the answers. It's like putting together a puzzle with missing pieces.
And the final scene, with Callum dancing in the club, is a whirlwind of emotions. The slow motion, the melancholic music, Callum's distant expression, everything contributes to creating that atmosphere of farewell, of an unspoken goodbye.
Exactly. And the choice not to show Callum's death, to leave that question open, is what makes the ending so powerful. Everyone can have their own interpretation, their own questions about what happened to him and how it impacted Sophie's life.
It's an ending that invites us to reflect on memory, how it shapes our view of the past, and on the complexity of family relationships, even those that seem simple.
After Sun teaches us that sometimes the greatest emotions are found in the subtext, in the silences, in the unanswered questions. It's a film that touches you deeply.
And speaking of films that move us, let's talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once. It takes us on a wild adventure through the multiverse, but at its core, it's a story about love, family, and the search for connection.
It's impressive how the Daniels, the directors, managed to balance the chaos of the multiverse with a touching family drama. We laugh, cry, and are left perplexed by the twists, and in the end, we leave the theater with a warm heart.
The film is an explosion of creativity, with incredible action scenes, state-of-the-art visual effects, and humor that takes you by surprise. But what makes Everything Everywhere All at Once special is the way it connects us with the characters' emotions.
Evelyn, the protagonist, begins the film tired, overwhelmed, unable to connect with her daughter, Joy. But throughout her journey through the multiverse, she discovers the strength she has within her and the importance of valuing every moment with her family.
And the final scene, with Evelyn embracing Joy and telling her that she loves her, regardless of her choices and mistakes, is truly chilling. It's a powerful message of unconditional love, acceptance.
The Daniels show that even in the midst of chaos, faced with infinite possibilities, what truly matters is love, family, and the ability to forgive and accept those we love, with all their good and bad.
And now, ready to relive the epic farewell of one of cinema's greatest icons, James Bond,
In 007, No Time to Die. An ending that broke paradigms, subverted expectations, and left a mark in history.
Who would have thought that we have already seen Agent 007, a symbol of visibility, meet his end? No Time to Die showed us a more human, vulnerable Bond willing to sacrifice himself, an ending that stirred the fans and sparked a lot of debates.
The decision to kill James Bond was bold, necessary to give the character the farewell he deserved. It was a way to show that even the most famous secret agent in cinema is mortal, life is fragile, and that the sacrifices we make for others come at a cost.
And that final scene with Bond saying goodbye to Madeleine and his daughter Matilda while he explodes is heartbreaking. It's a definitive goodbye.
Director Kerry Joji Fukunaga delivers a bittersweet ending that makes us rethink the figure of the hero and the fragility of life.
No Time to Die teaches us that sometimes the greatest act of heroism is sacrifice, the courage to give up one's own life to protect those we love, an ending that will forever stay in the memories of 007 fans.
Innocent Zeus. Now let's talk about a film that puts US face to face with moral dilemmas and the consequences of our actions. Oppenheimer, a film that takes us behind the scenes of the creation of the atomic bomb and the internal conflicts of the man who made it possible.
Christopher Nolan delivers a masterpiece with impeccable performances, an engaging story, and masterful direction. Oppenheimer isn't just a film about the atomic bomb, it's about the complexity of human nature, the ethical questions we face, and the weight of responsibility for our choices.
Cillian Murphy is simply brilliant as J. Robert Oppenheimer, conveying the genius, ambition, and torment of the scientist who is torn between the pursuit of knowledge and the devastating consequences of his discovery.
The film places us at the center of the Manhattan Project, showing the behind the scenes of the bomb's creation, the political pressures, the ethical dilemmas, and the conflicts of the scientists involved in this project that changed the course of history.
And the ending of the film is incredibly ambiguous, leaving us with the feeling that Oppenheimer, despite having received the Enrico Fermi Award, never escaped the weight of his creation. The guilt, the remorse, the fear of the future marked the last years of his life.
And that final conversation with Albert Einstein where he warns him about the danger of becoming the death that destroys worlds is chilling. An ending that leaves you with a lot of questions about ethics in science, the limits of human ambition, and the consequences of our choices.
Oppenheimer is a film that makes you think, inviting you to question the role of science, moral issues, and the weight of responsibility for our actions.
And now, get ready to return to the sands of Arrakis in Dune Part 2. An epic science fiction film that transports you to a vast universe filled with ancient epic battles and unforgettable characters.
Denis Villeneuve delivers a visual spectacle with stunning sets, impeccable costumes, and incredible visual effects. Dune Part 2 is a worthy continuation of the first film, keeping you hooked from start to finish with an engaging story and complex characters. Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya are even better as Paul Atreides and Chani. The chemistry between them is incredible, conveying the passion and intensity of the romance that blossoms in the midst of war. And the ending, with Shani's death in the final battle, is heartbreaking. Paul becomes the leader of Arrakis, but victory comes at a high price. He loses the love of his life. And the ending leaves you with the feeling that the war is just beginning. Poe becomes the leader of the Fremen. The fate of the galaxy is still uncertain. He has to deal with the responsibilities of power, the political pressures, and the threat from enemies. Part 2 is a breathtaking film. It leaves you with your head full of questions, and the certainty that Denis Villeneuve created an epic and unforgettable universe, a masterpiece of science fiction.
And now, let's swap the scorching sands of Arrakis for the world of classical music. Get ready to learn the story of Lydia Tarr, a brilliant actress who conquered the world, but saw her career fall apart in Tar.
Cat Blanchetta is fantastic as Lydia Tarr, a woman who built an empire in classical music, but who finds herself in the middle of a scandal that puts her reputation and career at risk.
Lydia Tarr confronts us with the complexities of power, ambition, and the consequences of our choices. We follow Lydia's rise and fall, her doubts, complicated relationships, and how she deals with the pressures of the classical music world.
And the ending of the film is enigmatic, surreal. Lydia finds herself in a completely unexpected situation, conducting an orchestra for an audience of gamers at an event that feels more like a rock concert.
Director Todd Field leaves us without clear answers. It's up to us to decipher what is real, what is fantasy, and what the final fate of Lydia Tarr is. Is she starting her life over in a new setting? Or is it all just a delusion, an escape from reality?
Tati makes you think and invites you to question the limits of art, morality, and redemption. A film that stays in your head for a long time.
And to wrap up the second part of our deep dive, let's return to the psychological thriller Anatomy of a Murder, which kept us guessing until the very last second. A film that challenges us to question truth, perception, and justice.
Sandra Hewlett is impeccable as Sandra Voiter, writer accused of having killed her husband. The film puts us right in the middle of the trial, following the investigations, the testimonies, and the twists of the case. We're trying to understand what really happened that night. And the director, Justine Tritt, builds the narrative in a way that makes us question every piece of evidence, every testimony, every glance. We get immersed in the suspense, trying to decipher the mystery, but the film takes us down winding paths, planting doubts and making us question the very nature of truth.
The ending, incredibly ambiguous, doesn't provide a definitive answer about Sandra's guilt.
The jury acquits her. The film ends with her reuniting with her son, Daniel, who seems to have doubts about his mother's innocence.
And that look of doubt, of distrust, is what makes the ending of Anatomy of a Fall so disturbing. We are left with the feeling that the truth will never be fully revealed.
Anatomy of a Fall is a film that challenges you to think, to question your prejudices, and to put yourself in the character's shoes. A film that shows that sometimes the answers aren't easy, and that the truth can have many faces.
And so we reach the end of the second part of our deep dive into the film endings that mark the 2020. We hope you are enjoying Cinematic Journey.
In the next and final part, we're going to make room for you. Let's read the comments you left about the movie endings that had the biggest impact on your lives. Get ready for another round of debates and discoveries. See you then!
Hey Cineflux, back to the final part of our epic dive into the movie endings that marked the 2020.
In the previous parts, we relived the emotions, the mysteries, and the reflections that films like After Sun, Everything Everywhere All at Once, 007, No Time to Die, Oppenheimer, Tuna, Multitar, and Anatomy of a Fall provided us with their powerful and often controversial endings.
And now it's time to make room for you. We asked you to share the movie endings that move you the most. Those that make you think for days, move you, surprise you, and leave you perplexed. And guys, the box exploded with comments.
Wow, people really got excited. It's amazing how a good movie ending sparks so much discussion, right?
That's true. And we selected some comments that show the diversity of reactions and interpretations that an ending can provoke.
Let's start with Maria, who commented on the ending of Arrival from 2016.
Arrival, a film that takes you on a journey through language, communication, and the perception of time.
Maria said, ending of Arrival left me in shock. The way the film builds the narrative around language is brilliant. When we find out that Amy Adams's character knew everything from the very beginning, it's mind-blowing.
I agree with Maria. That ending makes you question everything you just saw. It's like the movie punches you in the gut. It makes you rethink the linearity of time, the way we see reality and the power of language.
And that's what makes Arrival so special, right? It takes you on an intellectual journey, making you think about life, death, and destiny.
And Denis Villeneuve, the director, is a master at creating dense atmospheres. Psychological thriller. It takes you inside the character's mind.
Now, let's go to a comment from Pedro, who talked about the ending of Parasite, the South Korean film that was a hit in 2019.
Parasite. What film? A social critique, dark humor, and ending that leaves you speechless.
Pedro said, the ending of Parasite is a mix of feelings. It's shocking, revolting. It makes you think about social inequality.
True. The ending of Parasite is one of those that leaves you speechless.
Bong Joon-ho, the director, is a master at creating unpredictable narratives with twists.
And the coolest thing about Parasite is that it doesn't give you easy answers. It presents you with a problem, social inequality, and shows the consequences in a raw way.
Luana also left an emotional comment about the ending of Call Me, Your Name, from 2017.
Call Me by Your Name, a beautiful film. It celebrates the love of youth.
Luana said, final scene, with Ennio crying in front of the fireplace while remembering Oliver, is heartbreaking. It's sad, but at the same time, beautiful.
That's true. It's an ending of painful beauty. We feel the pain of separation along with Elilio, the longing, but also the beauty of what remains in memory.
It's an ending that makes you think about the impact people have on our lives, how love, even if fleeting, can transform us.
And Timothée Chalamet's performance as Elilio is incredible. He conveys all the intensity of the character.
And to wrap up, let's take a look at Arlana's comment about the ending of Interstellar from 2014.
Interstellar, an epic science fiction film that takes us on an emotional journey through the far reaches of the universe.
Anna said, when Cooper finally reunites with his daughter, Murph, who is now old, it's impossible not to get emotional. It's a beautiful ending. It celebrates the love between father and daughter.
Interstellar affects us in many ways. It takes you on a visually stunning journey through space, making you think about time and the search for new worlds.
And Christopher Nolan, the director, is a master at creating complex stories with twists.
And that ending, with the reunion of Cooper and Murph after so many years apart, is enough to make you cry.
It's an ending that shows that love is powerful and can overcome any obstacle.
These are just a few examples of the wealth of reactions that movie endings can provoke.
We thank everyone who shared their experiences.
We hope you enjoyed this dive into the endings that marked the 2020s.
And remember, cinema invites us to think, to feel, to question.
Keep watching, discussing, sharing your ideas, and getting emotional with the stories.
See you next time.